Hey guys, welcome back to my shop and also welcome back to my channel. And today I'm super excited because we're going to be unboxing and testing out this new tool from Katz-Moses. I just got this in the mail today and I'm looking forward to using this particular tool in my wood shop. This here is a new tool from Katz-Moses. It's called the Square Edge Jig, and it's designed to help you align the rear fence on any crosscut sled for your table saw, and it can also be used to help align the blade for some of your power tools, giving you more accuracy. If you are like me, you probably strive to get dead-on square cuts in your woodworking projects, and if you've ever built a crosscut sled for your table saw, you know how challenging it can be to get the rear fence 90 degrees to the blade. It's often it's probably the hardest part of building a crosscut sled. And this particular tool hopes to solve that problem. Before we open up the box, I'm really excited to announce that I reached a significant milestone in creating content for YouTube. Not too long ago, I released a video for a tool cabinet that I designed and built. With that video, I created a set of digital plans. And as of a couple days ago, I sold my very first set of digital plans. So for me personally, that was very exciting to be able to accomplish that goal in creating content for YouTube. The plans, in case you're interested, are over 40 pages long with detailed color drawings, a cut list, step-by-step instructions, and a list of materials, all for a small price of $3, which is a really great deal. And in case you're interested in the plans, I will include a link in the description below. And with that being said, enough rambling on. Let's get this box opened up and check out this new tool. Okay, this is the Square Edge Jig, and I can just tell you, just by handling this and just looking at it, this is of excellent build quality. It is very sturdy. It is very heavy. You can definitely tell this is very well built. It's very solid. And the way that this particular jig works is, in this particular fashion, is that when you're building the crosscut sled, you're going to have to make a cut first down the middle of the sled. And you do this once you have secured the front fence. The front fence on the crosscut sled is designed to keep the two halves together. And once you have secured that into place, you then make an initial cut down the middle of your crosscut sled. And once you do that, where this jig comes into play is that you have these 3 tabs here, and this one in the middle is adjustable. And if you turn it clockwise, it moves out this way, and it's to have a very secure fit in that very first cut on the sled. And then once you have this securely in place, you then take your rear fence and you're going to secure the fence either with clamps or whatever means necessary with a set of clamps to this edge here. And once you do that, you can then go ahead and secure the rear fence with screws from the bottom of the crosscut sled. And after you do that, you should be good to go. I was watching one of the videos that Jonathan had made or created when he was introducing this particular product. Is that when he was building crosscut sleds, is that one of the frustrations that he had was when he did the 5-cut method was that a lot of times it would he would have to do it more than once to get dead-on accuracy, and that was the inspiration for him designing and creating this particular product. So we're going to head over to the table saw here in a minute and try this out on my crosscut sled for my table saw. The one that I didn't build this particular sled, I actually bought this. This was one that was from King's Fine Woodworking. I really like the design features of that particular sled. There's a lot of things that you can do with it for cutting picture frames and doing crosscuts for small parts. And I just didn't really have, I really don't have the time to build one. So I went ahead and decided to buy that one. If you're interested, I'll include a link in the description and you can go check that out. I think it's definitely worth it, being that if you've ever built a crosscut sled, it takes quite a bit of time to do, and you got to have a lot of patience building one. And like I said, there was a lot of features for their particular design that I liked a lot, and it just saved me a lot of time and aggravation. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera, and I'm going to go ahead and get everything set up on the table saw, and I will meet you over at the table saw in a couple minutes. All right, guys, I went ahead and got the crosscut sled set up on my table saw. I went ahead and installed the rear fence as well as the front fence for this particular crosscut sled. One thing that, if you're watching the instructional video for setting this up by James on his YouTube channel, King's Fine Woodworking, is that he strongly emphasizes over and over to make sure that the front fence is nice and secure and nice and tight to the sled base. And he uses a total of 6 each screws, about 2 inches in length. And you want to make sure that that front fence is nice and tight to the sled base, because when you go to make your cut, and if it's not, then the sled is not going to fit properly, and then it's just going to have, you're going to have more problems trying to get it lined up. So I went ahead and did that, got the front fence nice and tight, nicely secured to the sled base. I put 2 screws in the rear fence, because you only need 2 screws, because it's going to act as a pivot point when I go to line this up with the saw kerf. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the table saw, raise the blade up slowly and make my first cut, and then we're going to get the fence squared up. Also, I forgot to mention too that I went ahead and made sure that my saw blade was 90 degrees to the table. Not only did I use an accurate combination square or accurate square, but I also used this little digital protractor and double checked all my measurements to make sure that the blade was perpendicular to the table saw, or the top of the table saw. Another thing too is you want to make sure that you have hearing protection, and also be sure to use eye protection or have safety glasses when working with power tools. Okay, I went ahead and made my initial cut in the crosscut sled or the saw base. So what I got to do now is that this particular design is a little bit different. You have these zero clearance inserts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up these bolts here, and I'm going to bring them over tightly to the blade as much as possible. And then I'm going to go ahead and set up the square edge jig to the fence. So I'm going to turn the camera off and get that set up. Okay, I've got the jig set up in place, and with this particular sled, I went ahead and made sure that these zero clearance inserts are nice against the saw blade. By the way, I forgot to mention that I've also got the saw turned off. So I've got the saw unplugged, and I don't have to worry about accidentally hitting that power on switch. Okay, so the next thing is I've got the zero clearance inserts tied against the saw blade, and I got the jig here against the fence. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this knob here, press this against in the kerf line, and then I'm going to basically take this and turn it clockwise so that make sure that this locks it in place. Okay, so that's nice and secured. And then I'm going to get a couple clamps. Okay, so I'm going to take a couple of clamps here. Making sure that's still okay. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to undo one of the screw. It looks like it's kind of loose on this side of the fence, so I'm going to loosen this screw over here and then reposition it so that it's in the proper position. Okay guys, so I went ahead and made the adjustments to the rear fence, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and just double check this to make sure that the fence is perpendicular or 90 degrees to the saw cut or the kerf. And I'm just going to double check it with the square edge jig here. And from here, it is like dead on. It's nice and flat. The fence here is nice and flat to this surface here. And as far as I can tell, it looks like it's set up correctly. All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and remove the square edge jig, and we're just going to go ahead and do a test cut here and see if this really does the job. All right, guys. Unfortunately, I do not have a large enough piece of wood to correctly do like the five cut test method. This is about the biggest piece that I have of scrap wood that is pretty parallel or properly dimensioned. So the only thing I could do is basically just make a test cut here and just use a good square to check and see if it's square along the edge. Now another thing I could do is I could probably, testing is if you take one piece and you flip it over, and if it perfectly lines up, then it's pretty darn square. And I tell you what, these two pieces here, if I take this piece and flip it over, it is like neck and neck. It's like dead on. So let me check this with a square. I'm going to turn the camera off real quickly. Okay, as I mentioned, I don't have the right tools to do the 5-cut test method. You're supposed to have a set of calipers, and I just don't have a set, and I don't have a, you're supposed to have a adequate size piece of wood, and this is the only scrap piece that I have at the moment. But what we can do is with a good square, this is a Starrett square and it's very accurate, and this is the piece that was against the fence, and this is the cut piece, so we're going to put that against the blade of the square, and as you can tell, it is dead on. It just, I don't see any gaps at all along the cut surface. So I would say that that is a success, and that the square edge jig actually does its job, so it's definitely worth it. So I'm definitely am pleased with the results. Anyway, so that's it for this particular video. If you're interested in the square edge jig, I will have a link in the description to where you can go check that out, and I'll also have a link in the description to the crosscut sled by King's Fine Woodworking if you would also like to check that out. And also, if you get a chance, the video that I encourage you to watch next is the one that deals with a cabinet that I built, and I encourage you to go check that video out. It's a very good video. I think you'll enjoy it. Anyway, that's it for this video. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Give me a huge thumbs up if you like the video, and also drop a comment below, and I will catch you on the next video.